Hello again. It is Dee cooking with her spoon. Okay, guys, today we're gonna do a simple dish that I love and it's really good. We're gonna do our vegetables are gonna be easy steamed cabbage. So I have my pot here. Gonna turn this on. I have approximately 2.5 cups of water. With my cabbage, I don't like to use a lot of water because they pretty much make water themselves when they're cooking. So I have move this bowl so you guys can see my ingredients that I will be using throughout the video. Right here. This is my Western oil bottle with seasoning grease. This right here is liquid gold for my cabbage, and I'll show you why in just a few minutes. Okay, so normally I give you guys the Cavender's all-purpose seasoning to cook with, but today we're gonna season my whole chicken with garlic salt, a hint of garlic salt, and then I'm trying to decide which lemon pepper I want to do. So we're going to have a more of a lemon pepper type chicken. So this is my garlic salt. You guys can see that. And then this is my lemon pepper. I think we're going to use the Lowry's brand lemon pepper. And this is the McCormick one. The McCormick one is more of a bolder, spicier lemon pepper. I want this to be kind of mild, so I'm going to use my Lowry's brand lemon pepper this time for this particular meal. Okay, and as you can see, my water is already beginning to steam a little bit. So, hands, of course, have already been washed, sanitized, and everything. So, with my chicken, we're going to cook it in the air fryer today. We have the Cook Essentials brand air fryer. This is one of my besties in the kitchen. Let me try to move it closer so you guys can see. I'll put the cabbage back here for now. I'm going to move my air fryer closer so you can see me pop the chicken in. So with a smaller chicken, whole chicken, you can leave it whole. But I think I'm going to try to cut this one. So we're going to slice it right down the breast, like so. And I have my cutting boards coordinated with what I use them for. So my yellow is for my chicken. So we got this popped open, almost popped open. Let's cut this here. And we got it now open. So I'm gonna first go with my garlic salt and turn my cabbage water down just a little bit because I don't want it to get going before I get to it. Gonna do garlic salt. Just sprinkle it throughout the chicken. Not too much, because a little secret about the air fryer, you normally with chicken, anybody that know that really cooks, you have to really marinate the chicken to get the seasoning all the way through to the bone. But with the air fryer, the chicken will actually be seasoned to the bone once it get finished cooking in the air fryer. And now we're going in with our lemon pepper. I'm just gonna coat it. I lightly coated it with the garlic salt. I'm gonna coat it medium light, not heavy, not light, but more heavier than the garlic salt was with the lemon pepper, and pat that on so it'll stick. Then I'm gonna flip this baby over, and I'm gonna do the same for the inside. Just make sure you have it everywhere, all under the wings, between the thighs. Okay. And like I said, I don't want to over season it because the air fryer is going to cook it to the bone with the seasoning. So, with my air fryer, I have the power on. I'm going to pull out my tray. I like to cook mine with the open side up at first. So the split side up, slide it in there, And this works perfectly for a smaller whole bird, but it won't work that well with the big one. So you just gotta kind of know your weight of your bird. And I'm rinse to sanitize my hands really quick. When messing with chicken, you have to be very, very careful about how you do that. So I have sanitizing water on my rag. Just gonna wipe my area where my chicken was at. Wipe off my seasonings like such that I've touched. Okay. Now I have a setting on my air fryer, so I'm gonna power it on, my whole chicken setting, and then power again. So that's gonna cook for 20 minutes. I doubt if it's done in 20 minutes, but we're gonna see where it stands once that goes off. So in the meanwhile, since we have sanitized our counter, I'm washing my hands all over again, touching the rag and the chicken, and I'm gonna just dry my surface off a little bit. I'm gonna pop this air fryer back over now since y'all have seen what I was doing with it. And I'm gonna bring in my vegetables. Okay? So this is my bell pepper. I like to add a little bell pepper to my cabbage from time to time. I don't do it all the time, but sometimes I do. So first what I want to do is get my handy baking grease. I'm not big on putting meats in my greens when I cook it, unless it's like collards or mustard greens or something like that. But with my cabbage, I simply just use bacon grease I have left over. And I put, I'd say maybe a teaspoon. Not a whole lot. It don't take much because you don't want it to be greasy. And this just gives it a great season to the cabbage. Okay. And today I'm gonna actually, I think I'm gonna add a few potatoes to my cabbage as I cook them as well. I got a taste for some potatoes. So I'm just popping off these outside leaves, getting rid of those, and just gonna cut it. I like to put my cabbage whichever way it lays without rocking. That's how I like to cut my cabbage. Hand on top, and then I just move it. And just go around and cut it. And that's that. So, now, you see my water is coming up to steam again. What I like to do, any loose leaves, I don't know why, I just get rid of those. Because to me, they're going to get in my way when I'm trying to cut them. So, I like to work with the halves. And I'm going to put my bowl back over here on this light that's not hot. And I just take my cabbage and I just cut the tips. And I cut it kind of thin because I don't like chunky cabbage. They're easier to eat if they're not in huge chunks to me. Scoop those up, separate. Just continue on until you finish. And you can determine how many you think you're going to need to cut up based on how much you have to, how many family members you need to feed or who all you're cooking for. Or if you just want some leftovers for the next day for work or something like that, then of course, you cook whatever amount you need. Cabbage is one of those vegetables that I've noticed, in my opinion, that don't really shrink up that much like some vegetables do. You can get collards, and next thing you know, you thought you had a lot of collards, but by the time they cook, they have shriveled down to nothing hardly. So you're like, I had all these collards, and I don't have many now that I've cooked. So, all right. I'm going to discard this. I'm going to do that. Put that over here. And I'm just going to rinse them. Even though it's from the inside, I still just have this thing about I like to rinse my vegetables. Rinse with cold water, I might add. Okay. And now I'm just going to throw these in by the handful. Just throw them in like such. Oh, I forgot one of my favorite things to put in my cabbage when I'm cooking them. I'm going to get it out in the cabinet in a minute. But you don't want to overuse that because your mouth will be on fire. Fire, fire. We're going to clean this up. And anytime I'm in my kitchen and you guys see me using my dishcloth, it's sanitized. I am very, very, very big on cleanliness and sanitation. Huge on it. So it's always good to cook safely too because cleanliness matters. Okay? Now let me get out that ingredient I told you guys I had forgot all about. Get that out really fast. Where are you? This is one thing I put on top of my cabbage after they get done, when I get ready to eat them. But here we are, crushed red pepper. Probably a lot of people use this in their cabbage, but crushed red pepper is the best on cabbage. So, once again, we got my wooden spoon because of this pot. So, once I notice I'm starting to cook, I stir them, and I really don't want these cooking too fast. And for sake of time today, I don't think I'm going to add the potatoes because it kind of takes a while for the potatoes to cook in it. But I will go ahead and start getting my bell pepper cleaned and chopped up so I can pop that in there. So. Rinsing it, and then I have my veggie spray, y'all. This is really, really good to clean your fruits and vegetables, organic fruit and vegetable spray. It is Rebel Green is the one I use and I love, and I get that right from Food Lion. So you literally just spray on the vegetable cleaner spray and then you rub off. Now my blue mat is one that I use for multiple things, anything except chicken. The chicken is very, I'm very, very particular. I think I use the blue for fish as well, my cutting mat. You know I told you it was color coded. So we're gonna pop this bell pepper open. Both sides popped off. Let's take this inside out. It don't matter if you get a few of the seeds in there. I don't think it's a big deal. So, what we're gonna do before we add our salt and pepper, you're gonna just thinly slice your bell pepper strips right onto your cabbage. You don't want thick chunks because if the cabbage isn't chunky, then you don't want to put chunky pieces of bell pepper. Now, if you're the type of person who likes chunky stuff when you cook, you like the chunkier the better, then go for it. But I don't really like chunky when it comes down to my vegetables. I like it to be easy for me to chew, and that's that. Okay? So now we're gonna go ahead. I love to cook with sea salt. No particular brand, but I just happen to have Morton sea salt. 95% of my things I use to cook with, you can find at your local Food Lion. So, that's enough salt. probably a tablespoon of salt, I would say, for this much cabbage that I used, that you saw me cut up. And then, of course, black pepper. I'm not one of those cooks who measure everything, especially when I'm cooking something that's just an item like a vegetable. Now, if I'm going by a recipe, of course, I'm going to give you the measurements that I have to go by. And then you're going to give this another stir, making sure that it's not cooking too fast, because you don't want mushy, well, I don't want mushy cabbage. And these are almost done, believe it or not. These are almost done. They're looking really good. Really, really good. And smelling amazing. So I'm going to turn this down just a little bit. So I want my bell pepper to get nice and tender in there. And then I'm going to put just a few. Be careful if you're using this part of your pepper, because I one time dumped the whole thing. So I learned my lesson then, so I'm just going to lightly shake. Maybe a half a tablespoon, I would say, of red pepper flakes in there. Just enough that you can see them. You don't want to put too much. One time I dumped probably 2 tablespoons in there. Woo. And I dug some of them out, but it was still really, really hot. That was not a good experience, to say the least. So we got those stirred. And if you need to add more salt once you taste, then by all means, while they're hot, you can add a little bit more salt with like your salt shaker or something like that. So I'm just going to get rid of this bell pepper. So I have used in my cabbage the Morton sea salt, crushed red pepper flakes. I use lemon pepper and garlic salt for my whole chicken that's in the air fryer. And I use black pepper in my cabbage as well. I was gonna do the potatoes like I said, but I feel like it's gonna take too long for them to cook. And because I'm not doing like a whole tall pot of cabbage, it would take a lot longer for the potatoes to cook all the way without being hard. Because you definitely want your potatoes to be nice and soft when you're cooking it. So these are done enough for me. By the time the heat finished with them, from sitting on this element, they will be perfectly fine. Now, let's pull our chicken back closer and see what we got. See what we got with this chicken. You don't necessarily have to cover your cabbage. When they're about done, then they're just done pretty much. So, you know what we can do? I can go ahead and make my tea while I'm waiting for this timer to go off on my air fryer. Be right back with the tea. And I'm a Southern girl, so I like Louisiana tea. So what I do, I take 4 tea bags. This is the family size pack tea bags, the bigger ones. So I take 4 of my family size tea bags because I don't like watery tea. And I put hot water in my pot on top of my tea. That kind of gives it a jump start. I know most of y'all probably know how to fix tea, but since we're chatting it up, I might as well go ahead and get my beverage going. So, my kids told me not to do Kool-Aid, but I'm telling you, I love Kool-Aid too. Like I said, I'm a Southern girl, so all that stuff from a little girl pops back in my memories about things that my mom used to fix when I was coming up that I still love. So, okay, let's check this chicken out. Let's see what it's doing. So I'm going to simply grab some tongs for my chicken while I'm waiting for my tea to come up to speed. Look at that, y'all. It's beginning to look good, good, good. See all the juices flowing out of it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna pop that back on for a second. And I'm going to take and poke some holes in it. I'm gonna poke some holes in it so it can cook really good all the way through. Okay, here goes my favorite poker with my long fork. So we're gonna pop this back open. I'm just gonna simply poke holes near the breast area, right in there where all the big thick meat is at. You're gonna poke holes, and that'll help it cook all the way through with ease. It's gonna cook all the way through anyway over time, but it'll help it cook all the way through with ease. So as you see, my cabbage have came to a stop in the cooking, and I actually think I still have a little bit too much water in them. I don't like a lot of water in my cabbage. So what I'm gonna do is drain them really quickly. That way they won't be soggy. Taking the water away will stop it from being soggy. So I'm gonna drain my cabbage. Some people say do it this way. I like to do it the other way, but we'll try this way for now. That way I don't have to move the pot too much. I don't know if there is such a thing as a correct way to drain stuff with a strainer, or some people call it colander, but whatever way works for you, I say use that way. And see, these are yummy. They're not mushy. The green peppers blend in with them really good. You can't even hardly tell the difference in the green pepper and the cabbage leaves, honestly. So these are ready to be munched on once the chicken get done. And so with your chicken, pretty much when you take it out of the air fryer, since I use the kinds of seasoning that will allow me to just eat the chicken once it get done, there's nothing I have to add to the chicken. Now, if you want to air fry your chicken and you use just regular salt and pepper, then you can put barbecue sauce on your chicken when you take it out, and you can actually just take and pop it in the regular conventional oven for like 10 minutes after you sauce it. That gives time for the sauce to kind of stick to it a little bit and not be runny. If you're cooking it, if you don't have an air fryer like me, this is my bestie, like I said before, then you can pop your chicken in the oven on 400. Just make sure that you read the weight on it and then kind of cook it according to the weight. So 400 is usually what I put my chicken on when I'm cooking it in the oven. That way it won't take forever and ever and ever to cook. But I do recommend, if you're gonna cook your chicken in the oven, conventional oven, that you go ahead and prep it the night before so the seasonings can go ahead and kind of sit in and marinate on your chicken. But other than that, guys, once again, simple, easy. I think this was like less than 30 minutes of showing you guys what to do. The chicken will be coming up. It says 4 minutes on this, but I'm gonna run it another round to make sure it's done. So your chicken will be like a good 40 minutes in your air fryer, which is pretty good, because most of the time when I have cooked chicken in the oven, it's been at least an hour, hour and a half, depending on the size of the bird. But I'm gonna get this tea up to speed, and then we're gonna get this chicken turned back on again. And we hope you guys have enjoyed this short video with steamed cabbage, air fried chicken with lemon pepper seasoning, garlic salt, and the tea will be coming up shortly. All right, have a good evening.